You are tuned in to Making a Difference with Melissa Billy Clark. This show shares compelling stories and experiences of well-known faces and everyday people who change the world in big and small ways. Get ready to open your mind and your heart with Melissa Billy Clark.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Making a Difference. I'm Melissa Billy Clark. We are here with Zen Sams. Zen is a model, a mentor, actress, media contributor, mom, and now the host of A Moment of Zen, which is such an incredible show. I've watched so many episodes. Thank you so much for doing this, podcast and this journalism. It's amazing. You have so many great people on. That is on WOR 710 and iHeartRadio. We will also be featuring Zen in Preferred Health Magazine, and we are so thrilled and so grateful to have you. Zen, thank you so much for being here with us. Zen, as a professional and a mother, how do you manage to juggle it all?
I think it's really about time management and being organized. I literally live out of a calendar, and if everything isn't written down and things are not organized properly from not just one day before, but several days before, nothing would ever get done. But I time manage and I set my priorities straight. And my priority is always my 5.5-year-old. Her name is Alexa. And although I have some help after school, I also work in my home, and I have a remote studio there where I film and do all my podcasts and appearances from. But the hard part is that she feels like she could just come in anytime she wants and open that door. And she's literally busted in on so many interviews, like high profile interviews. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Alexa, bring your kid to work day. But it's all about time management. So making sure that every priority in my life, like my daughter, my husband, taking care of the house, making sure the dog is fed because I cook for him, his little Shih Tzu. So it's really just about managing it properly. And unfortunately, I can't just, I'm not like a last minute kind of gal where you can say, hey, can you meet me for a quick drink like in an hour? Based on where my life is at right now. And I think most moms, that's where their life is at right now, balancing work, balancing school. I could be, I have a radio show, you have a radio or a TV show. I have another mother who's a book author. I have friends of mine who are partners at huge firms, pediatricians, Supreme Court justices, right? Politicians. Amy Kennedy is a friend of mine. Yes. And the one thing every mom says, that every successful working mom is, it's all about time management. If you have to live in blocks, that's the only way things get done. So I look at my calendar in the morning, I see where I find even that extra hour to spend with Alexa, or even that extra 15 minutes to come down from my office and read her a book or interact with her. So I think that's the most important thing, but not just for the family. I prioritize work as up there with, it's equal balance, right? So a lot of moms feel guilty if they're putting their work before their families or vice versa. Sure. I like to equally balance it all out. I'm a big believer in balancing things effectively, and karmically, it's always about the proper balance. So for me, I'll always give my family and my career almost the same amount of time management, but I prioritize by making sure that the kids are taken care of, the dog is fed, husband's happy, the hubby's happy, because look, hubbies are babies too if you don't pay attention to them.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Now, I read that Alexa is a child actor.
She is.
Wow. So what advice would you give to parents wanting to get their children into acting?
The first thing I would tell them is to head to thekidsestablishment.com. And it's an organization that my partner and I, Melanie Amber Ruan, she is a former talent agent. She discovered the Bella Thornes of the world. She then transitioned from a talent agent and became a photographer in New Jersey, shooting beautiful portraits. And she's really super talented. When I met her, we came up with an idea, her being a former agent, me being in the industry, really understanding the craft, understanding the marketing of things, and having a daughter who is in a movie called Last Looks with Mel Gibson that's going to be released later on in the year. so I decided to come up with a company called, together we co-founded the Kids Establishment, and the Kids Establishment.com, or on Instagram at the Kids Establishment, paves the way for exactly that, child stars. But we are the safe arm to the parents who have all the questions, who want to understand how to get your children in front of the camera safely, effectively, to do it properly with the right marketing material, but also not just, hey, I got scouted in a mall and then you ended up in a scam, because that happens too. So
of course, all the time.
Right. So making sure that the parents are directly talking to myself and to Melanie Amber Ron, who is my partner in this. And we pave the way for children to get represented by an agent to get to the next level. We also teach courses on the weekend, on our spare time, because it's not enough that we are working mothers. I have a radio show and a TV show. She's out there, huge photographer in New Jersey. She's actually published as one of the super moms in the May issue of 201 Bergen County. So
I love the fact that you build other women up. I like that very much about you, because that's what your show's about too. And we need people like you to build other women as opposed to knocking them down. So thank you. I just wanted to let you know I appreciate you.
I'm not going to say I'm a feminist of sorts, because I love men in the same way that I love women.
Sure.
And I think that I am a visionary. I see us as equals, right? So I don't ever bow down to a man no more than I would bow down to a woman, meaning, again, about the balance. For me, it's all about equality. Yeah. I'll never see the glass half empty. I'll always, if anything, see it right in the middle, right? Half there, or half full, but half full, right? So it's a matter of building each other up as women. And if we stood together the way men do, we could rule the world. I know that for a fact.
Well, that was my next question. Zen is a contributor on Newsmax. So how do you, as a woman, handle working with a majority of men?
Well, I'm no longer, well, actually, that's not true. They'll still call upon me here and there.
Sure.
Other platforms do, but I started doing live Newsmax every Wednesday and every Friday in 2019 on a show called Liquid Lunch, yes. John Tobacco's Liquid Lunch. And that's how I started. And he was live every day, 12 to 2 on Newsmax in that time frame. And then after the pandemic, they shifted the show around and he ended up on a different platform. And then I came off of that Newsmax platform on a regular basis. But for instance, I have Sean Kraisman on my show. Sean Kraisman is on National Report. He anchors down the 9 a.m. slots with Emma Reckenberg. And I build him up the same way I build up my women friends, right? I got him on the show. We talked about him being a single guy. We talked about what an amazing platform he's on, and how this is kind of like his dream job. But then also, how is he relatable and how is he personable? And you know what he told me? He said that women that he has, in the dating pool, because he's a really good looking single guy in the city. And I said, well, why haven't you found somebody? I said, being on the Newsmax platform, has that affected your dating hustle?
I'm sure it did.
Very right wing. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, he goes, they start off with, you're not some Trump supporter, are you? And he's like, oh, it's like going south from there. And he's like, I'm on Newsmax. What do you want me to do? He's like, yeah. And then it's like, I never hear from them again. He's like, how divisive are politics that it's even trickling into everyday life, like the dating world. It's like, oh, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. Well, but we can't be together based on our political views, which is so terrible.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. You're lucky you're married. But, I wanted to tell you, you're absolutely gorgeous physically and beautiful inside as well, which counts even more. And on this show, we try to build women up no matter what they look like. We're all gorgeous inside and outside. So I know that you had an injury. You fell outside of a restaurant. And, you talk about how you have a crooked smile and you have to keep caring about that with Botox and what have you. So can you kindly tell our audience about what happened? And then we'll have a follow-up question with that, please.
Sure. So back in 2012, I tripped and fell over a Con Edison wire cover, and I literally broke my face. So it was very kind of, it happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I tripped, I fell onto a tree. I literally hugged the tree. My dentist, Dr. Mima Young, always calls me a tree hugger. I was like, yeah, literally, no pun intended there.
Sure.
And then I was rushed to Weill Cornell. with a facial fracture. And it was not only was it a facial fracture, I mean, it was like my face was out to there. I was gushing blood from my eyes, my nose, everywhere. And I have currently a metal plate under my orbital and 4 screws down my nasal passage. And it was Dr. Michael Stewart that performed the surgery at Weill Cornell. What an incredible surgeon he was. Not plastic surgeon, maxillofacial. What they basically did was flip my lip, like as if you would flip your lip. 90 stitches were cut from basically like the base of my nostril internally all the way to the last tooth. And they placed it strategically, right, with laser, and they did everything guided access. And then they sent me home with like a pack of Vicodin and Percocet. And they were like, yeah, deal with it. And of course, I went to my neurologist and she said, look, you know, Vicodin and Percocet, they're nerve inhibitors. Like if you just constantly take this, your nerves in your face right here in the area on the upper left area where I then had started to get a facial pull, because after the swelling went down, the nerves were damaged underneath, right? And so I immediately switched from not having any kind of Vicodin or Percocet, like literally trying to deal with the pain organically. And in my search of trying to deal with the pain, I ended up using medicinal cannabis, which literally saved my face. And I'll tell you how. So separate of the severe inflammation and the emotional repercussions it was having on me, but also the nerve twitches and the spasms I would have. My face was numb. I couldn't feel one side. You know, there was scar tissue underneath my lips, right? So it was hard for me to even eat. It felt weird. But what happened was I started using derma patches, oils, edibles for the swelling, for the inflammation, for even just the mental ramifications of having this kind of trauma done on your face as a model. And who makes her money with her face? It was kind of, it wasn't about vanity. It was more about, okay, well, I can't work now. I can't do anything, right? So it was a slow process. The recovery was hard. My face didn't really come back to formation till at least 3 months. The swelling took to go down, but I never had to use any kind of painkiller. And what I ended up realizing was that my nerves bounced back without any major issues, except a slightly crooked smile. So when I smile, now it's even, right? It's an even smile.
It's a beautiful smile.
But sometimes when the nerves bounce back to normal and are not under the influence of Botox. Yes. And so what that means is, and I'm going to use my little pen to show you, the doctor literally drops 1 drop of Botox there to basically lower the smile when the smile is lifted and my smile is crooked. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So they basically, it's like a seesaw. So she kills, her name is Sari Katz. She's really good. She's a concierge service called Velour Medical, but she's also, you could check her out on Instagram at Skin by Sari. And you can research her. She's amazing. So she's an injector, but I'm not eligible to get fillers on my face and really like injectables. I'm not, because of the metal I have, it has to be done under supervision, really good care. Another really good doctor is Dr. Elliot Heller. He's an amazing plastic surgeon. Although he hasn't worked plastic surgery on my face, he's really good with, I've seen what he does, reconstructive surgery, rhinoplasty, things of that nature. He has a company called Allure Plastic Surgery up on the Upper East Side and Jersey and Staten Island. The reason I'm talking about these people is because they were the ones of their likes, not they, but specifically Sari and plastic surgeons like Dr. Elliot Heller are the ones that could figure out where this Botox needs to be dropped to even out the smile. So even if somebody had a stroke, for instance, and they had a crooked smile, it's a treatment that you use to even out the nerves and the muscles. Now, a lot of plastic surgeons say we would never inject in that area. It's very, very difficult, and they wouldn't. But in my case, you know, with a pull and a twitch, there was no choice. And if you over inject, then you get a droopy smile. So it's like, it's almost like a point of a 2% that they have to do. You almost can't even quantify it to charge it. That's how little of Botox is needed to even out my smile. But it's thanks to technology, thanks to doing research, thanks to me figuring things out on my own and collaborating with the most incredible individuals in New York that are professional medicals, I was able to literally find a solution to to get my appearance back to where it was before. And I'm not eligible to get like the regular fillers in like the area where you can lift your cheeks, because again, in one cheek there's metal, like it interacts, it swells, right? So I gotta make sure that I keep this for as long as I can.
I know.
Which
It's pretty amazing that they do this. I'd like for you to hook us up with this so I can talk to them, because maybe they can help with Bell palsy, people who have strokes in their face. My question to you is, how can someone cope in an injury that changed their life forever? Because your life is forever changed. So what advice do you give to them?
Right. So the scars, people say, the scars, although I don't wear my scars are not external, they are internal. And those scars will live with me forever. But it's about taking a negative and turning it into a positive. It's about, you get, lemons, you make lemonade. And God has a plan for everybody. So for me, it was about finding the silver lining. And that meant that in my time of healing and recovery away from modeling and the camera, and I at the time I didn't have Alexa, right? She wasn't born yet, but it allowed me to reflect within and really kind of figure out my next path, which was really focused on not just modeling, but TV and film, and really kind of my career took off because as a result of going through this kind of trauma, it was like a reset. It was almost like, all right, there's a chapter behind you and now there's a chapter in front of you. And so having coped with your face being broken, having coped with, your nerves not functioning well, having coped with so much emotional, mental, and internal pain, because, you wake up every day and you're like, I don't know if this face will ever bounce back, because again, the swelling was so bad. And now looking back, of course, there's plenty of methods, even if in the worst case scenario, there's plastic surgery and they could fix almost anything. Right. But it caused a lot of trauma to my teeth, right? So I had to work with Dr. Young, who was able to make sure that the last tooth had to be extracted, and two in the back, more than one tooth had to be extracted. They had to replace them with implants. Then they had to make sure that, it didn't hit the nerve. Sometimes when I chew too much on the left, it kind of, I feel my face kind of move, which is weird, but it's a true feeling. And when it gets too cold outside and I'm on the ski slopes, I also feel my face freezing.
Sure. So we're so sorry that you have to go through this, and we'll keep you in our prayers with the healing. And thank you for giving that advice to people of how to stay positive in a situation that they're put in. So I enjoyed my segment on your program, and a moment of Zen. What is your ultimate goal with this program?
iHeart is such a good partner. They are so supportive. They are an incredible company with so many powerful brands across the nation, but specifically in New York, they have 8 very powerful brands, and 710 WOR is the AM station of those 8 brands, which is talk radio. So, and the collaboration has been great because they help spin off my segments. They help promote with the guests. They do morning drops during the morning drive to promote the show. And the ultimate goal is the show is likely going to be syndicated nationwide very soon. And we're going to have not just the Moment of Zen, but sub shows because of the amount of sponsors I work with. And the sponsorship pool is huge. I work with the Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. They are our main sponsor. Wow. Revere Securities, Kyle Wool is the principal there. They are another main sponsor. I'm working with Helen Yarmack Furs, which is another showroom in the city, fine furs, high-end jewelry. Biche Cucina is another sponsor, and Biches are everywhere. And
we thank you for the change that you're making on radio and with your people. So thank you so much. Please head over to zensams.com to find out more information on her. So thank you, Zen, and we'll talk soon.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Melissa Billy Clark, and on this episode of Making a Difference, we speak with Lawrence Chau, an award-winning journalist, host, actor, writer, producer, filmmaker, and if you're into ghostly documentaries such as I am, that's what we talk about all the time on this show. You can head over to Amazon Prime to watch him host Ghostly Encounters. I'm obsessed with that show. I'm obsessed with you when you come on and host it. You're amazing. So excited to have you. I've been waiting for this so much. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. You look amazing. I'm so
you.
impressed with your setup.
Thank you so much. We mean business here on Making a Difference. Now, I wanted to have you on this program, not only to promote your brilliance, you know, you're an amazing person in journalism. You are one of the writers, and it hits so close to home here in New York City. There is a short film called Justice for Vincent. It's based on a true story of a Chinese American, Vincent Chin, who was brutally murdered by two Caucasian men in 1982. He was only 27 years old. His story actually sparked the first civil rights movement for Asian Americans. Take a look.
$3,000 and 3 years probation.
Half the price of a shiny new car in the Motor City.
Is that what the life of a Chinese man, an American citizen, is worth?
When I saw this film, it angered me because of the sentence they received. Tell us what these two men received. Lawrence, please.
Well, just to preface a bit, it was Detroit, 1982, and that was at a time when the American auto industry was feeling the from the Japanese automotive industry.
Yes.
A lot of, unemployment and competition. So there was a backdrop of racial animosity towards Japanese imports. And Vincent Chin, however, was Chinese. But with a lot of racial incidents, they don't nitpick at, Asian, Japanese, Vietnamese, whatever. Asian is Asian. So an incident occurred at a bar brawl near Detroit where a couple of disenfranchised auto workers argumentatively, but had a bar brawl with Vincent Chin, and it's believed that him being Japanese, Asian, Chinese, whatever, was kind of like the basis for his murder, and they were let off with 3 years probation and a $3,000 fine. So that sparked. That sparked the movement.
Ronald Ebbins, who's actually 81 years old now, I checked it and he's still alive. He actually said in the brawl, it's because of you people that were out of work. So that was actually considered a racial violence.
Yeah. So when when they were put in jail for the date of their arrest, but when it came to the sentence, the state court, the judge just gave them a 3-year probation and a $3,000 fine, and that angered the Asian community, the Chinese community, and that's galvanized the movement. And it was kind of like the first time that the Asian American community banded together in protest, and it was Chinese Americans and Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, Vietnamese, all coming together, along with Caucasians, and even Jesse Jackson came on board to decry this injustice. So that's 1982, and sadly we see that happening now with the pandemic. The need into racism and scapegoating. So the strange thing is that I wrote and produced and acted in Justice for Vincent. We shot that in 2018, pre-COVID. And I wrote it around 2016. They go, how did you know? I didn't know.
Yeah.
That the way the country was moving, with so much racial animus, I felt that the Asian community would be targeted next somehow. You know, it was started with post-election, there were post-2016 election, you know, there was the Hispanics, Muslims, African Americans, Jewish, and I said, oh, we're going to be next.
You felt that coming along?
Instinctually, I felt that. And then
Wow.
sadly, COVID hit, and now we see so many Asian hate crimes throughout the country. And you see the parallel, right? It's not just the disease, it's the scapegoating, it's the racial component of it, and the economic disenfranchisement, whether it was the auto industry in 1982 or whether it was the economic impact of that COVID has had on people. So this fuels a sense of anger, I think, and scapegoating. And unfortunately, some people take it out violently. You know?
It's a shame.
So,
Yeah, we've seen that a lot here in New York City. It's kind of dying down right now, which is fantastic. We're not hearing about it as much, but it is just, it's horrible when somebody's just walking down the street and they're just getting ostracized because of who they are. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to get back to this film because it really was amazing and very well put. So thank you for putting this together and bringing awareness and light to this situation. So now, and it makes you think of the judicial system and how we can go wrong. So now in this film, you play the family's attorney. Is that right?
kind of like a civil rights actor. It's not an attorney.
Okay, so these men were caught red-handed. They were detained by the police on the scene. This act was, in fact, a hate crime because we just spoke about how Ronald, is his name Ronald?
Yeah, we use a fictional name in the film.
Oh, you use a fictional name. Okay, so Ronald Ebbins, he was one of the murderers. I mean, you could find it on the internet, who is 81 years old today. So he did say a hate crime. It's because of you people that we're out of work because they were in the auto industry. So this film was released in 2019, and we started having hate crimes this year in 2021. Have you had your community reach out to you and express their thoughts on their feelings about the situation?
Well, it's you know, with social media, I'm quite in the loop with all the hate crimes, and you know, I'm part of some anti-hate groups and anti-Asian hate groups and stuff like that. And you know, there's a universal or collective. I can't even find the right word. Upset, disgusting, disappointed,
Sure.
in any adjective you want to say. So yeah, you know, it's very disappointing. I think it's a sign of the times. It's sadly, because I think there is a shift in society where hate is almost has been legitimized or reignited, and these are very tense racial times. We see it with you know, George Floyd and a lot of the African American killings, you know, whether it's by cops or whatever. We've seen it with the desecration of Jewish synagogues and places of worship, burial grounds. You know, the racial animus towards Hispanics because of, you know, what's happening at south of the border, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I think it's a sign of the times. But back to your question, yeah, I think the interesting thing about our little short film, I made it pretty much as a declaration of anti-hate. That was my hope of doing it, right? And our message was simple, that a mother's loss is a mother's loss, hate is hate, injustice is injustice, and it's across the board. And in the end of our film, we pay homage to other hate crime victims like Matthew Shepard, Trayvon Martin, and I recently updated the film to include George Floyd and the Atlanta shootings and things that are happening with the Asian community with COVID. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just don't know where we're going to go as a society from here. I know as people are getting vaccinated and the cases are coming down, and hopefully there's going to be less violence, but it's like once the seed of racism is planted and that fire is lit, it's really hard to extinguish. It kind of just simmers, and it went from simmering to kind of, searing. And I don't know. I really don't know. What's next? Is any crisis, are we going to react like this?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like, back 80s, 90s, AIDS, if everyone was being attacked? I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't know where we're going to go. I don't know. It feels like.
What would you tell those who still feel upset and worried about who they are? I mean, they have to walk around and enjoy their life. And, what would you tell them? What advice would you give to them? For anybody who gets ostracized for who they are.
I hope that as a society that understanding and compassion leads the way. This is such a hard question to answer because there's no logic to racism.
But you're also an influencer and you are out there and people do admire your work and especially, your community. So thank you for everything that you do and make a difference.
You raise a lot of, attention and flags to this. There are possibly a feature film, there might be TV series, a lot of projects are in development. And I can say that, well, we were the first.
Yeah,
maybe,
of course.
Maybe we were a catalyst for that. I don't know. And I'm happy, and I think they will take it to another level. And I have to say, ours isn't inspired by adaptation. So, we made dramatic, creative embellishments to tell our story. Because in 15 minutes, you really do have to change a few things here and there. But however, we stay true to the gist of the story and its message. So
you're out there seeking distribution. You really want to turn this into something really big, and it can be.
We broadcast it back in May into a bit of June during Asian American Pacific Islander Month, API month, as a contribution during. That was a time also a lot of the Asian hate crimes with COVID were going on, and I put it out there, and the feedback has been very strong. However, and maybe we'll get it distributed too. That's on the table now, so your viewers can look out for that. I'll keep people updated on my social media.
Please do.
I don't know. Yeah, I would have loved to have done it into the next level, like a feature film. But there's just so many other, entities who are carry far more cachet than I do, and I think they would probably be able to do it. And Helen Zia, one of the prime activists who was involved in the case, she's doing her TV series too. So, and I met with her during when I did my film and stuff like that. So, all the power to them.
What would you tell a new writer who wants to bring a true life story to life? That's got to be pretty hard because you got to make sure you have everything accurate, quotes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do a true life story, based on something historical or whatever, that is a whole different beast in itself. Because yes, your research and it has to be very accurate, and what you're writing, the dialogue has to be very accurate.
Yep.
And then you come in, the other way to do is to do a based on a true story, which is based on it, but however, change things here and there. And then there's the other level, which is an inspired by a true story, which is what JFV is, which is truth, the essence of truth and elements of truth, but yet more creative liberty to massage things and things like. For example, my character as a civil rights activist, there is no Henry Lee. It was a complex character, and it encapsulated Helen Zia, who I had mentioned earlier, and there was a bunch of male activists more in the background that people don't know about. So that's what I mean by if you do an inspired by a true story, you can create these more fluid, creative components that aren't necessarily true to the story. Like Selma, for example, about Martin Luther King. Everyone thinks it's a straightforward biopic, rooted in total, and most of it is. However, it was hugely fictionalized because the Kim family wasn't involved with the story. And Ava DuVernay created the script, but it was rooted in truth. So it's it's a bit technical. You're going into the realm of screenwriting to learn what you're doing. Having said that, if it's kind of like a legal type story, you should definitely get legal advice on
Sure.
what
So
you're
if it's
changing.
Sorry.
Like you have to stay true to the story. You have to stay true to the facts. Okay, so maybe it wasn't a female, it was a male. Maybe the person wasn't Asian, or you use someone who is African American. Those things are generally, you can pass as long as what happened and what they said are true. So.
Wow. So if you're seeing a story that it says based on a true story, and they could
know
be
that there's
film actors and everything. Okay, that's interesting. Excuse me.
Most of a lot of the Hollywood script you see in the movie, right? Based on a true story. It's based on a true story. It's okay. For example, The Crown. It doesn't even say true or based on or inspired. It's just The Crown. But come on, do you think Queen Elizabeth sat down with the writers and said, "Here"? No, those guys, they made it up. But based on truth. Or rooted in truth, and it's their creative interpretation. Halston right now on Netflix, based on the fashion designer Halston, Ryan Murphy did it. The family wasn't consulted, and they researched it and pieced it all together. And the writers, this is their creative vision, creative interpretation of what happened based on truth.
Interesting.
So that's how a lot of Hollywood productions get done. So
well,
it's really hard to do.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry. We're getting all technical now. People are like, what are we talking about? Are you a writer, Melissa? Is that what
I am a writer.
you have aspirations to write a script?
Sorry. I wish this film was still out, but you did have it out for a significant, great amount of time. But we did show the trailer. So thank you for bringing that to life, and just it's an amazing little short. So when did you start your career in journalism?
Oh God. You want me to date myself? Almost 2 decades. I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Yes.
I went to journalism school, and I knew that I wanted to do more TV film. That was always a dream, right? But you can't really sell that to Asian parents. Journalism was bad enough.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm going to be film school. What? Or, no, radio, television. No.
Yeah.
Journalism sounds respectable. So I went that route. And was good at it, but harbored the passion for entertainment through it all. And I remember being so depressed and miserable in my graduating year. I'm like, I don't want to be a hard news journalist, and I love it, but I'm political news junkie myself, but I just can't do this for the rest of my life. I want to do entertainment. So the teacher said, there's nothing wrong with parlaying your journalism degree and your skills into something you love, which is journalism. So that's what I did. I went off to Hong Kong, and I led 2 careers there. First, public relations. I was a consultant, which I also did in high school, which also requires journalism.
Yeah.
And I landed a TV job on the side, hosting. And then Singapore came along, and I landed Showbuzz, which is like their Entertainment Tonight. And I kind of became like the Ryan Seacrest, where I was interviewing.
Right? You worked in Hong Kong, is that right?
Hong Kong and then Singapore. And Singapore was when it really exploded, and I was like traveling the world, interviewing, Denzel Washington, Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry,
Awesome.
Michelle. It was crazy. Tom Cruise. I was emceeing his press conference. Things like that. It was a wild ride in Singapore. And at the same time, I was producing the show and writing it.
Yeah.
And then I was also I started to act on the side. So I didn't sleep for a good 10 years. And then I went back to Canada and thought I would take a break. And then my parents got sick and stuff like that. So I started to take care of them. I'm sorry, did that ring?
Are your parents still around?
Mom is gone. After I did JFV and we did the film festival route, I had a good ride, and I thought, okay, maybe we'll get a feature or whatever. And then my brother sadly passed away, so
I'm
I had
so
to take.
sorry.
Oh, thanks. I had to take a total year off. He had a heart attack unexpectedly, so I had to, base back in Toronto for a while and take care of family stuff. And
We talk a lot about grief on this program. How did you handle your grief losing a sibling and your mama?
Oh, not well. Mom was especially hard because she was very ill. And around kindergarten, her health took a major nosedive. And I became sort of like her caretaker at the age of 5.
Wow.
Latchkey kid, made my own snacks after school. She was just too ill. And I grew up very old, very fast. I had to help her to go to the doctor, help go to do pharmacy runs, banking things. So I always took care of her a lot. And then in JFV, I played like the civil rights activist helping Vincent's mom, Lily Chin. And I didn't even notice. Well, first of all, I didn't expect to play that role. I was going to play Vincent Chin, but casting issues happened, so I ended up doing that role. Mm-hmm. And the role, my acting coach was like, you have to dig deep why you're stepping into that role as a civil rights activist. And it dawned on me, and I wrote it. I didn't even notice that it was because in the civil activist was kind of like the Lily Chin's protector in the film, and I go, that's my real life. I was my mom's protector. So when she passed, it was really hard because she passed away in my arms alone at the hospital, and it's really hard. You're
gonna get me going. I had the same thing. I'm so sorry.
It's brutal because she brought you into the world, and you as a baby, and then when it comes full circle moment.
Yeah.
And to lose a life in your arms and the last breath, and it's to this day it haunts me, and I don't know if it's PTSD, but it sticks with you, and I still have dreams. It's been 10 years. I still have dreams.
Wow.
Yeah. And my brother was unfortunate because he wasn't old. He didn't seem to be sick. He had a lot of issues too, and it happened unexpectedly because it was we're almost like wrapping up the film festival run for Justice for Vincent, JFA, and I was like, oh, catch my breath. It was like a scene from Saving Private Ryan when the 2 cops show up at your door, and you just know, like this, everything's slow motion, and they said, are you Lawrence Chau? I said, yes. Are you the brother of so-and-so? And I said, yes. And they said, sad news. He passed away in Toronto. So I had to drop everything and fly back and go there for,
So sorry. This was quite recently then, huh? Quite recently?
Yeah, a few months. And it was a lot of stuff because he was kind of like a hoarder. So yeah, it wasn't, I can't say that, anyway, it was heavy. It was heavy. So it was like, and then COVID, it was during COVID too.
Yeah.
So you're flying through a pandemic.
What did he pass away from, Lawrence, if you don't?
Yeah, plaquing in his heart. He had a heart attack.
You say?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Yeah, so, he had to take care of, when my mom passed and my brother passed, I had to take care of business. It was me, so.
So you're still having a tough time with all this mentally and with your father being sick?
I'm a very resilient kind of person, and I'm very level-headed. And, when there's a crisis, as emotionally sad and, upsetting it is, I'm very much in control. I can still organize and do this and do that. And I'm just tired, like it's physical burnout. And there hasn't been a moment where I can just like decompress. It's been like, when you're traveling the film festival circuit for 2 years from city to city, you're not sleeping. And then suddenly brother died. You have to fly back and you have to, purge this condo, go through the state, deal with legal, deal with financial, and all these things and taxes. And they're like, oh. And then
It's
it's
a lot
like,
to handle.
yeah, it's a lot.
Do you have faith? What do you have faith? Like, do you believe in anything that you know that you're not doing this on your own, or?
I'm not actively religious per se, but I'm very spiritual.
That's
And
good.
I kind of have this thing where I'm often called to service. If I seem to be on people's speed dial during crises.
They call you.
Yeah, I'm always the one.
Oh, geez.
I don't know, and I don't know.
That's tough when you are dealing with your own stuff, so I get that as well. But sometimes it's good just not to answer the phone. It's okay if you just say, you know what, not right now.
As you get older, you learn how to, you have to differentiate and pick and choose which ones you give your energy to, or else you become depleted, right? But just the thing about some people, I think I'm more empathic than, some people aren't. I'm very in tune with what's going on. Like if there's civil unrest, social unrest, racism, it bothers me a lot. And then as an artist, I'll go and break something.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And maybe you are the same as a podcast talk show host.
Behind this is a big circle. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so you are affected by what's, around.
I'm an empath. I'm a total empath. I feel I have to leave rooms. It's god awful. I mean, it's cool.
I'm like, you must be like me. You walk into a room and you can gauge the energy.
Oh yeah.
You don't know what's happened, and something is either good or not good.
Oh yeah. I can
This
feel.
person, yeah, I'm the same. This person's vibe is just.
I need to leave. Once I start having that feeling and just the way they're looking at me, and I can see, because I'm not just looking at their eyes, I'm looking inside, I'm looking around them, I can see their aura. It's kind of weird, and it actually it happened more after my parents died. So now it's just like I'm a weirdo at home by myself with my dogs.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Well, they even say that people who are more empathic are kind of like dog whisperers. If you can sense what your dogs. Some people don't. They can't even tell. I'll go like, your dog's got this issue here, and they're like, what are you talking about? And they go, oh my god, you're right. I go, do you notice? Whenever we come over, your dog eats, and the bowl's not touched when no one's around. He's happy. He's eating. They go, oh God, I had the dog for 10 years.
So what is the most important part of your career? Because you do so much. So what's the most important part of your career?
The most important part? Oh shit, well, yes, it's questions. It's afternoon on East Coast. This morning here in LA. What's the most important? I don't know what the most important is, but I know that I love acting, and hosting I love because it comes very natural to me.
You're very good at it. You're very good at it. Very good at it. Yeah, I've seen a couple of your clips on YouTube. If you head over to YouTube, you can watch Lawrence Chau, Chau, and he's very good at what he does. So it's good.
I have a feeling as I get older, maybe the writing will be the most important. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. When I was a major host in Asia, it was like you were able to reach so many people. And, I would say that was my most important thing, is I'm affecting people.
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing.
I don't know. As I turn this new leaf in life, and, I don't know, maybe it's the writing. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cool. So what do you have coming up? Anything coming up this year?
Well, having gone through what I went through, I'm just going to kind of go quiet like you for a while, retreat from the scene. And I want to explore these other projects I have in terms of writing.
We're very sorry for what you went through with your mom and your brother. And, we just keep praying that you're gonna get out, be all right. You're going to be okay. I can see it. Yeah, right. And you can check out Lawrence on the cover of EGO magazine and follow him so that
I'm not vain. They actually sent me this.
I love it. Handsome. And follow him on his social media, Lawrence Chau Act. And we thank you so much for your time and so honored to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Making a Difference. I'm your host, Melissa Billy Clark. If you'd like to learn more about our show, please visit our website at melissabillyclarkshow.com. If you'd like to sponsor or be a guest, email melissa@melissaclarkshow.com. Let's make a difference.